Disclaimer: this series isn't meant to infringe any copyrights or harm anyone's feelings or a person's well-being. If I do so, I apologize ahead of anything or everything. Way back in 2004, the world was a very different place. The technology in electronics wasn't so advanced, the movies weren't so bad, PlayStation 2 had just revolutionized the gaming industry, and the pop cultures of 90s had reached its prime. New things had started coming into the entertainment industry, and though things have now changed a lot compared to back then, one thing that hasn't changed is that food is still made by humans, and still eaten by humans, and beautiful little restaurants with dark and sad histories. The only difference? You were still allowed to smoke in public places, and Gordon Ramsay had just begun his TV career. Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares' first episode premiered on 27 April 2004. The format of the show was simple but unique, though the details were still a bit vague. The idea in its essence was that Gordon Ramsay, an experienced chef from Johnstone, Scotland, would go around the United Kingdom trying to save dying restaurants, while taping every second that followed this journey, even being half naked. And through this journey, we will see some real drama, broken relationships, financial strain, firings, hirings, ambitions, lost dreams, closed shops. In this video, we cover the first episode, the first restaurant, its state before, during, and after Kitchen Nightmares, and a comprehensive look at all that happens in the show. So if you want more videos like these, let me know by leaving a like on the video right now. And I'd also recommend you to subscribe to the MDR channel to keep up to date. Also, you can always share your thoughts about the events going on in the video in the comment section. Enjoy! In the remote town of Silston, settled in West Yorkshire's Bradford Borough with a population of roughly 8,000 working-class people, is where Gordon Ramsay finds the first restaurant he's tasked to revive, which is the wine bar cum restaurant called Bonapartes. When the show began, Sue Ray, the new owner of this restaurant, had just entered this business with the ownership of Bonapartes, and so she appears to be barely knowledgeable about how to run a restaurant. So much so that we find out that her kitchen's 21-year-old head chef, Tim Gray, who is a character himself, had come to her offering to work instead of her finding an experienced chef to run the restaurant. Gordon already saw that as a problem right from the beginning, and it seems logical as to why he thinks this. Anyone who isn't even in the business of restaurant and fine dining can tell that having an amateur cook and an ex-dishwasher as the head chef of a new restaurant is a bad idea in every way, shape or form. The other chef, Lee, was just as inexperienced as Tim, but it is obvious that all the burden falls on the guy with the tag. Without making many assumptions, Gordon decides to give the young man working downstairs a fair chance, except the people weren't ready to give the restaurant a chance in return. On the night of his arrival, Gordon wanted to see how the restaurant functions on a daily basis. Sadly though, there aren't any new customers, so a little trip outside invites a few curious heads, attracted towards the cameras and the lights, small townsfolk hoping to get their highlight reel. To understand how intimidating a camera following your every step can be, in addition to an aggressive man assessing you constantly, who's also better at the job you're supposed to be doing, all points to one word: pressure. If you want to get a glimpse of how bad the service is that night, the starters take about 30 minutes just to get to one table. But the real problem lies below in the basement where the food is being prepared. You can see how bad the situation is in Bonapartes when the head chef is putting order tickets on the refrigerator as if it's a sticky note left for some chore to do at home, not for the job that pays for his livelihood. The reason for this being, there just aren't enough orders, ever. Which is true since only 11 guests are able to be brought in, even when they're offered free food. Bonapartes just had a bad reputation. Overcooked food, crashing into utensils, forgetting to close the microwave, the owner being oblivious to whatever is happening in the kitchen. Overall, it's just a bad night. I felt bad for everyone involved in this situation. I felt bad for Ramsay, I felt bad for the ambitious chef, I felt bad for the non-ambitious chef, and I felt bad for the owner. It seemed with the chefs, the problem was the lack of focus and where it was directed to. There wasn't so much time going into how well the food should be, but how good can it look when put on a plate. Even though when you eat it, that's really what matters. For instance, the raviolis that are served look well decorated, though they are overdone from the inside, something Gordon just cannot believe. All this is happening while the owner is busy with the bar, which is just about the only thing that works in the building to compensate for the losses downstairs. The night ends on a sad note, but if you survive, there's a brighter day, right? Or is it? Next morning, Gordon asks Tim to prepare a dish for him, so scallops by the 21-year-old are decided to be put on the test. What arrives is rancid, to say the least, and could have possibly given Ramsay a visit to the hospital, but thankfully he survives the ordeal, though he did get food poisoning later on. This is the breaking point for Ramsay, as it seems from this point on, Ramsay feels no remorse for young Tim, or Sue, who has a lack of focus into a restaurant, while Lee seems to be in his good books throughout the rest of the episode, and I don't really see any reason for him to be hated anyway. Unlike what Tim or Sue indulge in, besides their toxic relationship of this back and forth hatred and lack of respect, using coarse language and getting threats of being fired from the job, what Gordon finds upon examining the restaurant is, to say the least, bad. Gordon begins a quality check of the kitchen, from its cleanliness to the produce storage to the quality of that storage. The kitchen seems to be just like the scallops, in a rancid state as well. The Gordon Ramsay we know of now seems to be in formation from here on out, putting down the F word in every other sentence with some clever insults here and there. It's a subtle hint at what became Ramsay's USP as a celebrity chef. Rude, harsh, and to the point, removing everything that makes a celebrity chef, and saying what people might say if they had no manners. Anyway, the fur on the potatoes to the rotten gravy and whatnot, everything in the kitchen is in the worst state imaginable. But this isn't the worst part. It seems that Tim Gray, the head chef, seems to be completely unaware of what state the food he serves is in, the produce in the kitchen is in, and everything else that even anyone who isn't a part of the food industry can tell is not okay. On the other side of the spectrum, it seems evident that the business wasn't doing great even when Sue Ray had acquired Bonapartes. And things were only seemingly getting worse, with the business taking in more money than it was giving out. But the competition on the next block wasn't the only thing that could be blamed, as Sue's lack of leadership comes through whenever she's on the screen. I felt bad for her in the beginning, but as the episode goes on, you start to see through the lines. She only wants Gordon to fix whatever is wrong with the business and then go on to print money and have absolutely nothing to do with anything at all. I also believe that she only agreed to do the show because she thought it might pull in some audience or get their restaurant some publicity, but I think it backfired. Why I think that? You'll find out at the end of the episode when I talk about the aftermath. With a visit to Sue, Gordon proposes the idea of turning the restaurant into more of a bistro. Bistro meaning a small and budgeted restaurant for regular town people. This seems like a good idea, as the mixed bag of random dishes in the menu, the look, the feel of Bonapartes being that of a bistro, seems to all align well. So in order to fix all that is wrong with Bonapartes, first Ramsay prepares 2 dishes with Tim and takes it out in the town for some testing. Of course, as expected, Gordon wins every single round, with people choosing the cheap, well-prepared food that Ramsay has to offer in comparison to the typically overcharged Bonapartes dishes. For the regular people to be impressed with the good food that they can potentially have just around the corner, and some more excited by the cameras in their otherwise obscure town, excites the townfolk to book a full restaurant in the coming nights, which is when the relaunch happens. But that is still quite a bit far away. Gordon takes out Tim to the local market to teach him how and at what rate should one buy produce for the kitchen, something that almost vanishes from the later seasons. It almost seems like Gordon really cares about saving this restaurant, as if almost trying to save his job. So he tries his best to teach everything he has to teach and doesn't hold back anything. Something that I appreciate about the man, as he doesn't hold back in neither his dedication to his job or his insults. He seems to care about Bonapartes, perhaps more than the owner, who is only looking to make profits and is not really interested in the daily ongoings of a restaurant. And even more than the head chef Tim, who looks at this opportunity as a way to start off in the industry to then go on and become a celebrity chef. Gordon pulls a smart move after this, making Tim prepare a family dinner, as he wants to see what kind of efforts would be pulled by the young chef to impress not any strangers or customers, but the most important people in his life, his family. It has to be one of the most awkward moments in the history of television. You see a bunch of people pretending everything is fine as a fire alarm is going off in the house. Their dinner is burnt, but everything is coming off like it's okay. Even Gordon's usual uncomfortable nature is undermined by how strange everything seems to be in this house. Everybody's smiling, always. It's so strange. And to be honest, it actually looked like a scene from Twin Peaks if it was made by Channel 4. Anyway, as this is the first episode, we see Gordon Ramsay at his most subtle and simple. He can obviously see through this, as the audience sitting at home can do. You can see his insults here are actually something he cares about. He thinks about them, he regrets them, then he tries a lighter approach. But it seems neither Tim or Sue are ready to go that way. I never understood why. If he wanted to become a celebrity chef, Tim didn't look to the man in his right, who is maybe the most famous celebrity chef of United Kingdom. It seems so weird that he would ignore everything Ramsay was out to teach him, but that was his choice, I believe. Until I saw the moment when both of the chefs couldn't tell the difference between what kind of meat they were eating. They are chefs! None of the fancy renovations from later seasons are here yet. You can tell how the show was made on a small budget, as there doesn't seem to be a big camera crew. All you see are a few camera angles, 3 at best. No decor teams for the restaurant as well, as we only see the furniture being moved here and there to give the restaurant a new feel, a relaunch feel. Some side activities do seem to ease the tension off of Tim, as he not only has to serve a fully booked restaurant, but has to impress Gordon as well, after the food poisoning standards of his cooking abilities. So how was the relaunch then? The night of the relaunch begins with what looks like a disaster in the making. As the night has only begun, Tim is already losing focus and Lee isn't in sync with the head chef at all. Upstairs, Sue is busy around the bar and keeping the customers distracted by announcing singing acts. It seems that Tim is falling to the pressure again, but he picks himself up quickly, thanks to a little help from Gordon. And after that, the rest of the night seems to go fine, with Tim's grandparents enjoying their 44th anniversary in their restaurant as well. Smiling. This time, hopefully for real. While not completely convinced, Gordon believes if the La Grande Armée,
if I can invoke a little French,
of Bonapartes can communicate better, with food service being as efficient and as effective as it is on the night Gordon supervises the kitchen, Bonapartes may find its home in the Silston's busy streets and in the pockets of its working class population, and with that, he leaves. But the most important part is yet to come. A month after the episode was taped, Gordon went back to Silston for a surprise visit to Bonapartes. He finds an empty restaurant on a weekend and directs himself to the downstairs where Tim can be found doing whatever he was doing in the kitchen. Gordon finds out that Tim had squared back to ground zero only 3 days after he had left and was all back to the disorganized, argument-filled, fur-on-potato situation once again. And this time without Lee on his side, who'd moved up to handle the bar. With 2 written warnings on his job contract, Tim didn't seem too motivated to become any better at his job, possibly thinking he could wire out money from Sue's pockets for as long as he wanted, without doing anything, since she really had no other option anyway. Of course, this fantasy world does come to an end, and Sue decides to close the restaurant completely, leaving only the bar to remain working. In the second season's 8th episode, Ramsay makes yet another visit to Bonapartes, this time to find out that Tim had been fired, and the owner Sue, as suggested by her name, had been threatening to sue Gordon Ramsay into a lawsuit, going as far as to say that she had been set up by him. I was happy to see how well Gordon managed the situation, though I think a little bit of that might have come from the Channel 4 guys as well. Respecting Sue's feelings, if even unjust, and not bringing a camera crew with him when he met her for a conversation. Apparently, Sue had put up the restaurant for sale, and a regretful Tim Gray had been looking for jobs in the film and television industry of the United Kingdom, giving up being a chef. with no updates on where Lee was. According to Reality TV Revisited, whom I would like to thank for their information, Bonapartes had been put up for sale for £450,000 and was reopened as Reflections Bar, which too was closed and sold in 2009 for £350,000 and again reopened as Dinero's Wine Bar, which too was shut down in 2011. This place might just be a curse. With whatever happened to Surrey is rather a sad story. She declared bankruptcy after being £400,000 in debt and was even caught drunk driving in 2006. Now, she supposedly lives on state benefits. It is tragic what happened to her, and I'm not surprised she did what she did after being in such a situation. I just feel bad for her. I hope for the best, and if she watches this video and needs help, we can always set up a Kickstarter. And about Tim, he rejected an offer from Gordon and went on to try out his luck in television but failed to find any place in the industry. Imagine if he had only accepted the offer where he could have been today. Anyway, it has almost been 2 decades since the episode has aired, and it seems the young Tim from 2004, who must be nearing his 40s now, didn't ever break through TV like he wanted to. But after the show had ended, the most we know of him is that he found himself in the hands of the law, due to drunk driving as well. The reason explained by him is trying to escape 3 men who had gotten into a fight with him earlier in the evening. Also, it seems that he had almost made it into Big Brother 5, but as he was identified, he was instantly kicked out, which caused him to go back to being a chef near Bonapartes only. But his TV and chef's career seems to be a back and forth love affair. I hope he finds his peace in any one of them. If any of you guys know anything else about them, please leave it down in the comments. I'd like to know more. In the end, the first ever restaurant that Gordon Ramsay tried to save for Kitchen Nightmares just couldn't be saved. This was already hinted by him, saying that 2/3 of the restaurants that are opened every year do not make it to the second year. Well, it didn't. Surrey's situation just made me feel sad, but what I don't understand is if Tim wanted to be a celebrity chef, why would he reject an offer from a celebrity chef on television? I'm sorry, I know I'm saying this for the 3rd time, but I just can't get over it. Even if for some experience, why would he do that? It's strange, but that's the tale of Bonapartes for you. If you made it through till this point, I'd like for you to please make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, so I can reach an even bigger audience, since these videos take so much effort to make. And if I have a bigger audience, that means I have a bigger budget, meaning I could also probably get in touch with some of these people to hear firsthand about their experiences and whatnot. Anyway, if you like what you see, you can always join the Patreon as well, but if you can't do it, totally fine. Just subscribe and leave a like. We'll be looking at the next restaurant very soon, so I hope you'll be around for the next episode of Reliving the Nightmare. Take care.